The alarm bells rang through the Galactic Council building. Red lights flashed on every wall. Ambassador Kyung ran down the long hallway, his old legs moving as fast as they could. His blue skin was darker than usual, which meant he was scared. Another attack! Someone shouted from behind him. The Vorthok hit 3 more ships. Kyung pushed through the crowd of aliens, rushing toward the main meeting room. Inside, chaos filled the air. The round table was surrounded by beings from dozens of different worlds. Some had scales, some had fur, and some looked like walking trees. But they all had the same look on their faces: fear. 15 dead this time, said Commander Vex, a tall creature with 4 arms. His voice shook as he spoke. The cargo ship Star Runner never had a chance. The Vorthok tore through the hull like it was paper. A hologram appeared above the table. It showed the destroyed ship floating in space. Large claw marks covered the metal. Dark stains that looked like blood covered the walls inside. That makes 47 ships in 2 months, said Admiral Korath. She was from the water world of Aquatica. Her gills moved fast, showing how upset she was. Trade routes are shutting down. Colonies are asking for protection we cannot give. Ambassador? Kyun took his seat at the table. He was one of the oldest members of the council. His people, the Altarians, had been part of the galactic community for over 1,000 years. They were known for being wise and peaceful. Show them the video from the attack, Kyung said quietly. The hologram changed. Now it showed security. Footage from inside the cargo ship. The crew members were running and screaming. Then the Vorthok appeared. They were monsters. Each one stood 3 meters tall. Their bodies looked like giant wolves, but they walked on 2 legs like people. Black fur covered their muscled bodies. Their claws were as long as knives and sharp as razors. When they opened their mouths, green liquid dripped from their teeth. The liquid made holes in the metal floor where it fell. But the worst part was their eyes. They were not the eyes of dumb animals. They were smart. They planned their attacks. They worked together like a team. "Turn it off," whispered someone at the table. "Please, turn it off." The hologram disappeared. The room became quiet, except for the sound of heavy breathing. "Our military ships cannot stop them," said Admiral Korath. "They are too fast, too strong. They attack in groups and disappear before we can fight back." "What about the peace talks?" asked another council member. Admiral Korath laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "Peace talks? With those beasts, we have tried sending messages. We have tried leaving gifts. We have tried everything. They just attack anyone who gets close to their world." The world they talked about was Kathmoros. 'Twas a death world at the edge of known space. The planet was covered in volcanoes and poisonous storms. Most species could not even breathe the air there. It was the perfect home for monsters like the Vorthok. "We need to discuss the final option," said Admiral Korath. Her voice was cold and hard. Everyone knew what she meant. The final option was death, complete destruction. They would send a huge fleet to Kathmoros and destroy everything on the planet. It would be genocide, the killing of an entire species. "No," said Ambassador Kyung. His old voice cut through the room like a sword. "There must be another way. Another way." Admiral Korath turned to face him. "Old One, we have tried every way. They do not want peace. They only want to kill and eat. You have not tried the human way," Kyung said. The room became very quiet. Then someone started laughing. Soon, half the room was laughing. "Humans," said Commander Vex. "Those little pink creatures, they are new to space. They have no special weapons. They are weak and small." "Yes," said Kyung, "they are small. But they have something we do not have." "What?" asked Admiral Korath. They make friends with predators. The laughter stopped. Everyone stared at Kyung. On their homeworld, humans live. With creatures called dogs, Kyung continued. Dogs came from wolves. Wolves are predators that hunt in packs. But humans turn them into loyal friends. They also live with cats, small predators that hunt alone. Humans have a gift for making bonds with creatures that should be their enemies. That is different, said Admiral Korath. Dogs and cats are not Vorthok. The Vorthok are killers. So were wolves 10,000 years ago, said Kyung. But humans saw something in them that others could not see. They saw the possibility of friendship. At that moment, the doors to the meeting room opened. A human walked in. She was tall for her species, with short black hair and dark eyes. She wore a simple military uniform with the rank of commander on her shoulders. Commander Hannah said, Kyung, thank you for coming. Hannah looked around the room at all the different alien faces staring at her. She was not scared. Humans were still new to the galactic community, but they were getting used to being around aliens. Ambassador Kyung asked me to come, Hannah said. Her voice was calm and strong. He said you have a problem that might need a human solution. Want to send you to Kethmaros, Kyung said directly. Alone, to talk to the Vorthok. The room exploded with noise. Aliens shouted in dozens of different languages. Some said it was crazy. Others said it was murder. Hannah held up her hand. The room became quiet again. What makes you think they will listen to me? She asked. Because you are human, said Kyung. Your species has a way of seeing the person inside the predator. We see monsters. You might see something else. Admiral. Korath stood up fast. Her chair fell backward. This is insane. You are asking her to commit suicide. Maybe, said Kyung. But if she succeeds, we save 2 species. The Vorthok and all the innocent people they are killing. Hannah was quiet for a long moment. She looked at the hologram projector, thinking about the video of the destroyed ship. Then she looked at the faces around the table. They were all afraid. We'll do it, she said. Hannah? No. The voice came from the back of the room. Another human walked forward. He was shorter than Hannah, with broad shoulders and worried eyes. This was Captain Wu, Hannah's second in command. Sir, this is suicide. Wu said to her, The Vorthok have never let anyone get close to their world alive. That is why it has to be me. Wu, Hannah said. I am not going there to fight them. I am going there to understand them. And if you are wrong? Asked Admiral Korath. Are just monsters? Hannah smiled. It was not a happy smile, but it was not afraid either. Then you can proceed with your final option, she said. But at least we will know we tried everything. Ambassador Kyung nodded slowly. The council will vote tomorrow. If they agree, you leave in 3 days. As the meeting broke up, Captain Wu walked beside Hannah toward the exit. Are you really going to do this? He asked. Hannah stopped walking and looked out the large window. In the distance, she could see ships coming and going from the space station. Some carried families, some carried supplies. All of them were trying to stay away from the dangerous areas where the Vorthok hunted. My grandmother had a dog when I was little, Hannah said. It was a rescue dog. When she first got him, he would not let anyone touch him. He would growl and snap at everyone. The shelter said he was too dangerous and should be put down. What happened? Asked Wu. My grandmother sat with him every day. She did not try to touch him. She just sat there and talked to him. After 2 weeks, he let her pet his head. After a month, he was sleeping on her bed. He became the most loyal dog she ever had. Hannah turned away from the window. Sometimes the most dangerous creatures are just the most scared ones. Wu. Maybe the Vorthok are not evil. Maybe they are just trying to survive. 3 days later, Hannah stood in the loading bay of a small transport ship. Her bag contained basic survival gear, food for 2 weeks, and a universal translator. She also carried a small photo of her grandmother with her old dog. The ship's captain was nervous. "Are you sure about this, Commander? Kethmaros is a death world. Even if the Vorthok do not kill you, the planet might." "I am sure," Hannah said. As the ship prepared to leave, Captain Wu appeared in the doorway. "I still think this is crazy," he said. "Probably," Hannah agreed. "But someone has to try." The ship's engines started. Through the window, Hannah could see the stars waiting for her. Somewhere out there was a world full of monsters. But maybe, if she was very lucky and very careful, she could find the people hiding inside those monsters. The ship jumped to hyperspace, carrying humanity's greatest hope toward the lair of the galaxy's most feared. The small transport ship shook as it entered the atmosphere of Kethmaros. Through the thick window, Hannah could see why they called it a death world. The sky was the color of blood. Black clouds moved across it like angry spirits. Lightning flashed, in colors that hurt her eyes: purple, green, and orange. "Landing in 60 seconds, said the ship's computer. Its voice sounded scared, which was strange because computers were not supposed to feel fear. Below them, the ground looked like a nightmare made real. Tall mountains of black rock pointed up at the sky like giant teeth. Rivers of lava flowed between them, glowing like fire in the dark landscape. Steam and poisonous gas rose from cracks in the earth. "I am reading life signs," the computer continued. "Large ones, moving toward our landing site." Hannah's heart beat faster, but she kept her voice calm. "How large?" "Each one is approximately 3 meters tall. Weight estimated at 400 kilograms. There are 7 of them. 7 Vorthok." A full hunting pack the ship touched down on. A flat area of rock. Soon as the engine stopped, Hannah could hear sounds from outside. Howls that made her skin feel cold. Scratching noises on the ship's hull. Deep growling that seemed to come from all directions. "They know we are here," Hannah whispered to herself. She picked up her small backpack and checked her equipment one more time. Water purification tablets. Emergency food bars. A basic medical kit. The universal translator clipped to her ear. The photo of her grandmother's dog in her front pocket. The ship's ramp began to lower. Hot, thick air rushed in. It smelled like sulfur and burning metal. In the distance, she could hear more howling. The sound echoed off the mountains and seemed to go on forever. "Goodbye," Hannah said to the empty ship. She knew the pilot had already left for orbit. He would not wait for her. The council had given her 2 weeks. She was not back at the landing site by then. They would assume she was dead. Hannah walked down the ramp. Her boots made soft sounds on the volcanic rock. The moment she stepped onto the surface of Kethmaros, she felt like she was being watched. She was right. Yellow eyes stared at her from behind the black rocks. She could see shapes moving in the shadows. Big shapes. The Vorthok were surrounding her, but they had not attacked yet. "That is a good sign," she said quietly. "If they wanted to kill me, I would already be dead." Hannah started walking toward the mountains. She moved slowly and kept her hands where the Vorthok could see them. She did not want them to think she had weapons. After 10 minutes of walking, she heard footsteps behind her. Heavy footsteps. She did not turn around. Turning around might look like a threat. The footsteps got closer. Now she could hear breathing. Deep, rough breathing that sounded like wind through a cave. Then one of them spoke. "Stop." The voice was deep and rough, but the universal translator made it clear. Hannah stopped walking but did not turn around. "You are not food," the voice said. It sounded confused. "You are too small. Too weak. Why are you here?" I came to talk, Hannah said. She spoke to the air in front of her, not looking back at the creature. Behind her, talk. The voice laughed, but it was not a nice sound. Small creatures do not talk to us. They run, they scream, they die. I am not running, Hannah said. No, the voice agreed. You are not. This is ... strange. More footsteps came, from different directions. The other Vorthok were moving closer. Hannah could feel their eyes on her back, on her sides. She was completely surrounded now. Turn around, the voice commanded. Hannah turned slowly. For the first time, she saw a Vorthok up close. It was even bigger than she had imagined. It's black. Fur was thick and rough. Scars covered its face and arms. Its claws were longer than her fingers and looked sharp enough to cut through metal. And when it opened its mouth, she could see teeth like daggers. Green liquid dripped from them and made small holes in the rock where it fell. But the eyes were what caught her attention. They were yellow like fire, but they were smart. These were not the eyes of a dumb animal. This creature could think and plan and feel. I am Grimfang, the creature said. Alpha of this pack. You will tell me why you have come to our world, or you will die here. My name is Hannah, she said. I came because my people and your people are fighting. Want the fighting. To stop, Grimfang made a sound that might have been laughter. Your people attack our hunting grounds. They take our prey. They poison our water. And now they send one small female to make peace. Yes, Hannah said simply. The other Vorthok had come closer now. Hannah could see all 7 of them. They stood in a circle around her. One of them, smaller than Grimfang but with more scars, growled low in her throat. Let me kill her, Grimfang, the female said. She smells like metal and fear. I am Bloodclaw, the female Vorthok said to Hannah. Mate to Grimfang, I have killed many of your kind. You will be easy. Maybe, Hannah said, but killing me will not solve your problem. What problem? Grimfang asked. You are starving, Hannah said. The circle of Vorthok became very quiet. Hannah had guessed right. The ships you attack, she continued. You are not doing it for fun. You are doing it because you have no choice. Something has happened to your normal food. Grimfang's eyes narrowed. How do you know this? Because predators like you do not usually attack unless they have to, Hannah said. My people studied your attack patterns. You only hit cargo ships carrying food. You ignore passenger ships. You ignore military ships unless they attack you first. You are hunting for survival, not for sport. Bloodclaw snarled. Clever little creature. Too clever. At that moment, the ground began to shake. A low rumbling sound came from deep underground. The Vorthok looked around nervously. Earthquake, Grimfang said. We must move to higher ground. As they started to move, there was a loud crack. One of the younger Vorthok, who had been standing near a tall rock formation, cried out in pain. The rocks above him were falling. A boulder the size of a small car was dropping straight toward him. Without thinking, Hannah ran toward the trapped Vorthok. She was much smaller than him, but she was also faster. She reached him just as the boulder crashed down. Move back. She shouted to the young Vorthok, get against the wall. The boulder had landed on the creature's leg, pinning him down. He was strong, but not strong enough to lift something that heavy. Green blood was flowing from where the rock crushed his fur. Hannah looked around quickly. She saw a long piece of metal that had fallen from her ship during landing. She ran to get it. What are you doing? Bloodclaw snarled. Leave him. But Hannah was already back with the metal bar. She jammed one end under the boulder and found a smaller rock to use as a fulcrum. It was basic physics. Leverage could multiply her strength. When I lift, you pull him out. She called to the other Vorthok. She put all her weight on the metal bar. The boulder moved up just a few centimeters, but it was enough. Grimfang grabbed the injured young one and pulled him free. The moment the young Vorthok was safe, Hannah let go of the bar. The boulder crashed back down where his leg had been trapped. The pack stood in silence, staring at her. The human had risked her life to save one of them. This was not behavior they expected from prey. The injured young Vorthok looked up at Hannah. His yellow eyes were full of confusion and something else. Gratitude. "Thank you," he said quietly. Grimfang stepped forward. He looked down at Hannah for a long moment. Then he did something unexpected. He lowered his great head in what looked like a bow. "You saved young Claw," he said. "Why?" "Because he needed help," Hannah said. "It was the right thing to do." "The right thing," Grimfang repeated. He seemed to be thinking about those words. The ground shook again. More rocks were starting to fall from the unstable cliff face. "This area is not safe," Grimfang said. "We must go to the den." He looked at Hannah. "You will come with us." It was not a question, but it was also not a threat. Bloodclaw growled. "She cannot enter the sacred den. She is not Pack." "She saved Pack blood," Grimfang said firmly. "That gives her the right to shelter." As they began to move toward the mountains, Hannah walked beside the injured Youngclaw. She helped support his weight as he limped on his hurt leg. "Your kind usually run from us," Youngclaw said. "Yes," Hannah agreed. "But I am not here to run. I am here to understand." Understand what? Hannah looked up at the blood-red sky, where more storm clouds were gathering. "Why the galaxy's greatest hunters are starving," she said, "and how we can fix it without anyone else dying." The pack moved through the volcanic landscape like shadows. And for the first time in months, they were not hunting alone. A small human walked among them, and somehow that changed. Behind them, the unstable cliff collapsed completely, burying the landing site under tons of rock. There was no going back now. Hannah was committed to living with the monsters or dying with them. As they approached the entrance to their den, a massive cave carved into the side of an obsidian mountain, Grimfang looked back at her one more time. "Inside, you will see things no outsider has ever seen," he said. "Sacred things. Pack things. If you betray that trust, I understand." Hannah said, "Do you?" Grimfang asked. "Because once you enter our den, you are no longer just a visitor. You become part of our world, and our world does not let people leave unchanged." Hannah looked up at the cave entrance. It was dark and deep, like the mouth of some ancient beast. She could hear sounds echoing from inside, the voices of more Vorthok, the cries of young ones, the sounds of a living community. "Then I guess I'd better be ready to change," she said. And with that, she followed the pack of apex predators into their hidden world where no human had ever. The inside of the Vorthok den was nothing like Hannah had expected. She thought it would be a simple cave with bones scattered on the floor. Instead, she found herself in a complex network of tunnels and chambers carved deep into the mountain. The walls were smooth, polished by generations of Vorthok claws. Strange symbols were carved into the rock, not random scratches, but careful artwork. Pictures of hunts, of families, of ceremonies. These were not mindless beasts. They had culture. "Your people think we are animals," Grimfang said, watching her look at the wall carvings. "But we have history. We have art. We have songs." "Songs?" Anna asked. As if to answer her, a deep howling came from deeper in the cave. But it was not the angry howl she had heard outside. This was musical, with rhythm and harmony. Other voices joined in, creating a sound that was both alien and beautiful. "The evening song," Bloodclaw explained. Her voice was softer now that they were in the safety of the den. "We sing to honor the day's hunt and welcomed the night's rest. They walked deeper into the cave system. Hannah saw more Vorthok elders with gray fur, females nursing young pups, adolescents playing fighting games. When they saw her, they stopped what they were doing and stared. A human whispered one of the elders. "In the sacred den, she's saved," Young Claw Grimfang announced to the gathered pack. "She has earned guest right." An ancient female approached them. She was smaller than the others, and her black fur was streaked with silver, but her yellow eyes were sharp and intelligent. "I am Wise Mother," she said to Hannah. "I have lived longer than any other in this pack. I have seen the changes that came. To our world, what changes?" Hannah asked. Wise Mother led them to a large chamber lit by glowing crystals. In the center was a pool of clear water. Around the edges, carved stone benches provided places to sit. "Sit," Wise Mother said. "Tea, and I will tell you why we hunt your ships." Hannah sat on one of the stone benches. The Vorthok arranged themselves around her in a circle. Even the pups came closer, their large eyes curious about this strange, small creature. "Long ago, our world was rich with prey," Wise Mother began. "Great herds of metalhorn grazed in the valleys. Schools of razorfens swam in our lakes. Flocks of windclaw filled our skies. We hunted as our ancestors had hunted for thousands of seasons. What happened to them?" Hannah asked. Grimfang's claws scraped against the stone floor. "Hunters came from the sky. Not hunters like us who take only what we need. These hunters took everything. Off-world poachers," Bloodclaw snarled. "They came in great ships and used weapons that killed from far away. They took the metalhorns for their horns, which sell for much money on distant worlds. They took the razorfin for their scales. They took the windclaw for their feathers." "We tried to stop them," said another pack member, "but their weapons were stronger than our claws." Wise Mother nodded sadly. "In 5 seasons, they killed almost everything. The herds disappeared. The lakes became empty. The skies fell silent." "So you started hunting the cargo ships," Hannah said. "Understanding now." "We had no choice," Grimfang said. "Our pups were starving. Our elders were dying. The cargo ships carried food, meat from other worlds. We took only what we needed to survive." Hannah felt a heavy sadness in her chest. The galaxy had called the Vorthok monsters, but they were just a people trying to feed their families. "Your Galactic Council thinks we attack for sport," Bloodclaw said bitterly. "They think we enjoy killing, but every hunt is dangerous for us. Your ships have weapons. Your crews fight back. We have lost pack members on these raids." A young Vorthok approached the circle. She was barely adult, with bright yellow eyes and only a few scars on her dark fur. "This is Swiftclaw," Grimfang said. "My daughter." Swiftclaw looked at Hannah with curiosity rather than fear. "Is it true that your people live with predators on your world?" "Yes," Hannah said. "We call them dogs and cats. They help us hunt and protect our homes." "But how?" Swiftclaw asked. "How do you make predators into friends?" Hannah thought about her grandmother's old dog. "We show them that we can be trusted. We share food. We protect their young. We make them part of our family." Vorthok exchanged glances. The idea seemed strange to them. "We have never been anyone's family except our own," Wise Mother said. Over the next few days, Hannah learned more about Vorthok society. They were not the savage killers the galaxy believed them to be. They cared for their elderly. They played games. They told stories. They mourned their dead. She also learned that they were excellent hunters, not because they were cruel, but because they were smart. They could track prey across vast distances. They could work together to bring down creatures much larger than themselves. They could adapt their tactics to any situation. "You could teach my people many things about hunting," Hannah told Grimfong as they sat by the water pool. "And what would your people teach us?" he asked. "How to hunt without killing," Hannah said. Grimfong tilted his great head. "I do not understand. On my world, we have learned to raise our food instead of just hunting it. We have farms with animals that give us meat and plants that grow fruit and grain. We take what we need, but the source of food continues to live and produce more. This is possible," Bloodclaw asked, joining the conversation. "It takes time and work," Hannah said. "But yes, and there are other ways to get what you need without raiding ships. You could trade with other worlds. You have things that other people want." "What could we possibly have that others would want?" Swiftclaw asked. Hannah looked around the beautiful carved chamber. "Your strength, your intelligence, your loyalty to family. There are many worlds that need protection. Many cargo ships that need guards. You could become protectors instead of raiders." The idea was so strange to them that they sat in silence for several minutes. "But first," Hannah continued, "we need to solve the immediate problem. Your people are still hungry, and my people are still afraid." "What do you suggest?" Grimfang asked. Before Hannah could answer, the cave began to shake. But this was not like the earthquake from before. This shaking had a rhythm to it. Boom, boom. "Boom, explosions," Grimfang said, rising to his feet. "Someone is bombing the mountain." The pack rushed to the cave entrance. In the distance, they could see ships in the sky. Not cargo ships, military vessels. They were firing energy weapons. At the mountainside, trying to collapse the cave system. "They are trying to bury us alive," Bloodclaw snarled. Hannah felt sick. "My people. They got tired of waiting for me to return. They decided to solve the Vorthok problem with force." "The tunnel to the lower caves is already blocked," reported one of the younger pack members. "And the main entrance will be sealed. Soon, if the bombing continues, we need to evacuate," Hannah said. "Get everyone to higher ground." "There is nowhere to go," Wise Mother said sadly. "This mountain has been our home for generations. All our food stores are here, all our sacred places." Another explosion rocked the cave. Dust and small rocks fell from the ceiling, somewhere deeper. In the tunnel system, Hannah could hear the frightened cries of Vorthok pups. "There has to be another way out," she said. "There is," Grimfang said quietly. "But it leads to the old hunting grounds. The places where our prey used to live before the sky hunters killed them all. It is dangerous volcanic vents, poisonous gas, unstable ground. Better than being buried alive," Hannah said. Grimfang nodded. "Gather the pack. We leave now." As they prepared to evacuate, Hannah helped carry supplies and assist the elderly Vorthok. The pack worked together with incredible efficiency. Everyone knew their job. Everyone helped. "Why are you doing this?" Swiftclaw asked as they worked side by side. "Your own people are trying to kill us. You could call to them, tell them to stop the bombing, and they would rescue you." Hannah looked at the young Vorthok. "Because you are not monsters, you are people. And people do not deserve to die just because others are afraid of them." The evacuation took 2 hours. The entire pack, nearly 40 Vorthok of all ages, made their way through narrow tunnels toward the back of the mountain. Hannah stayed with them, helping where she could. When they finally emerged from the far side of the mountain, the bombing had stopped, but their home was gone. The cave entrance was buried under tons of rock. The pack stood in the poisonous wasteland that had once been their hunting grounds. The air was thick with sulfur. Steam rose from cracks in the earth. Nothing lived here now except a few scavenging creatures that fed on volcanic minerals. "What do we do now?" asked one of the younger pack members. Grimfang looked at his people, his family standing in the toxic landscape. Then he looked at Hannah. "Now we find out. If a human's promise is worth more than a human's weapon, As night fell over the dead hunting grounds, the pack made camp in the shelter of some old lava formations. They had no home, very little food, and nowhere safe to go. But they had something they had never had before, a human who had chosen to stand with them instead of against them. Hannah sat beside the pack's small fire, looking up at the alien stars. Somewhere up there, her own people thought she was dead. They thought they had solved their problem by burying the monsters. They had no idea that they had just created something much more dangerous, a pack of apex predators with nothing left to lose, led by a human who understood the true meaning of loyalty. "Tomorrow we begin again," she said quietly to Grimfang. "Begin what?" he asked. "Teaching the galaxy that monsters are just people that nobody took the time to understand." The pack howled their evening song into the toxic night, and for the first time, a human voice. 3 days after the bombing, a message came from space. Hannah's small communication device, which she had thought was broken, suddenly crackled to life. "Commander Hannah, this is Admiral Tay," a cold voice said through the static. "If you are alive, respond immediately." Hannah looked at Grimfang. The great Vorthok leader nodded. They had discussed this moment during their time in the wasteland. "This is Commander Hannah," she said into the device. "I am alive." "Thank the stars," Admiral Tay said, but his voice did not sound happy. "We will send a rescue ship immediately. Move away from any Vorthok in the area. We detected large life forms near your signal." "Admiral, I need to talk to the Council," Hannah said. "I have learned important things about the Vorthok. You can report when you return to the station," Admiral Tay said quickly. "Right now, we need to get you to safety. The extermination fleet will arrive in 48 hours. Hannah's blood turned cold. "Extermination fleet? The Council voted while you were missing," Admiral Tay explained. "The Vorthok problem will be solved permanently. We are bringing enough firepower to turn this entire planet into space dust." Around the small camp, the Vorthok pack listened to every word. Their universal translators let them understand the human conversation. Hannah could see fear in their yellow eyes, not for themselves, but for their young ones. "Admiral, you need to stop the fleet," Hannah said. "The Vorthok are not what we thought they were." "Commander, you have been missing for days on a hostile world," Admiral Tay said. "You may be suffering from shock or injury. The rescue ship will be there in 6 hours." The communication ended with a sharp click. Hannah turned to face the pack. 40 pairs of yellow eyes stared at her. Adults, adolescents, and pups, an entire community that would be dead in 2 days. "I am sorry," she said quietly. "You tried," Grimfang said. His voice was calm, but Hannah could hear the sadness underneath. "Your people have made their choice. There is still time," Hannah said. "You could hide. Find deep caves. Go underground until the fleet leaves." Wise Mother shook her silver head. "Child, we are apex predators. We do not hide. We do not run. If we are to die, we will die with honor." "But the pups," Hannah said, looking at the young Vorthok playing near their parents. "They do not deserve this." "No," Bloodclaw agreed. "Hey, do not. But this is the way of things. The strong survive, and the weak become memory." Hannah felt anger burning in her chest. Not at the Vorthok, but at her own people. They were about to commit genocide against a species they had never tried to understand. "What if there was another way?" she asked. "What way?" Grimfang asked. "Come with me to the Council station. Show them what you really are." The entire pack fell silent. The idea was so impossible that no one spoke for several minutes. Finally, Swiftclaw broke the silence. "Leave Keth Morose. Leave our world. Your world is going to be destroyed," Hannah said gently. "But if you come with me, If you let the council see you as people instead of monsters, maybe we can save your species. And maybe they will kill us the moment we appear. Bloodclaw snarled. Maybe, Hannah agreed. But staying here means certain. Death, coming with me, means a chance. Grimfang stood and walked to the edge of their small camp. He looked out over the poisoned landscape that had once been green with life. In the distance, more steam rose from volcanic vents. This world was dying even without the extermination fleet. How many could come? He asked. My ship is small, Hannah said. Maybe 7 adults and their young ones. 7, Grimfang repeated. Out of 40, the pack began to argue among themselves. Some said it was impossible. Others said it was there. Only hope. The voices grew louder and more emotional. Enough. Wise Mother's old voice cut through the noise. This is not a decision for the whole pack. This is a decision for the Alpha. All eyes turned to Grimfang. As pack leader, the choice was his alone. If I go, he said slowly, I take Bloodclaw as my mate, Swiftclaw as my daughter. Youngclaw because he owes life debt to the human. Wise Mother for her wisdom. And 2 of our strongest hunters, Ironjaw and Fastclaw. What about the rest of us? Asked one of the older pack members. Grimfang's voice became very quiet. You will do what our ancestors have always done when facing impossible odds. You will make the enemy pay a price for victory. Hannah realized what he meant. The remaining pack members would stay behind to fight the extermination fleet. They would die, but they would die as warriors. There has to be another way, she said. This is our way, Grimfang said firmly. 7 will carry the hope of our people to the stars. The rest will carry our honor into the final hunt. The next few hours were the hardest of Hannah's life. She watched the pack say goodbye to family members they would never see again. Parents held their pups one last time. Mates touched foreheads in final farewell. Warriors shared hunting stories and promised to meet again in the great hunt beyond. Death. When the rescue ship arrived, it was not the small transport Hannah expected. It was a military vessel with heavy weapons and thick armor. Admiral Tay was taking no chances. Commander Hannah, the ship's captain, called over the radio. Move away from the hostile life forms. We are prepared to provide covering fire. Negative, Hannah said. I am coming aboard with 7 Vorthok companions. Silence on the radio. Then, repeat your last transmission, Commander. 7 Vorthok are coming with me to speak to the Council, Hannah said clearly. Commander, you are clearly suffering from some form of mental breakdown, the captain said. We cannot allow hostile aliens aboard this vessel. Then you leave me here to die with them, Hannah said. Another long silence. Finally, stand by, Commander. Knew they were communicating with Admiral Tay and probably with the Council itself. The rescue ship circled overhead for nearly an hour while decisions were made far away. Finally, the ship landed. The ramp lowered and a squad of heavily armed soldiers emerged. They pointed their weapons at the 7 Vorthok who stood beside Hannah. Any sudden moves and we open fire, the squad leader announced. Understood, Grimfang said calmly. His pack arranged themselves around Hannah in a protective formation. But they kept their claws retracted and their heads lowered to show they were not threatening as they walked up the ramp into the ship. Hannah looked back at the remaining pack members. They stood proudly in the poisoned wasteland, watching their family leave for the stars. Wise Mother, the oldest of them, raised her muzzle to the sky and howled. It was not a howl of sadness or fear. It was a howl of pride. The others joined in, their voices carrying across the dead landscape. The ship's ramp closed, cutting off the sound. Restraints, the squad leader ordered. No, Hannah said firmly. They are not prisoners. They are ambassadors. They are dangerous predators, the captain said over the intercom. They will be restrained for the safety of this ship. If you put restraints on them, you prove that the Council is not interested in peace, Hannah said. You prove that it's all just a show. The squad leader looked uncertain. He spoke quietly into his radio, receiving new orders. No restraints, he finally said, but they will be guarded at all times. The journey to the Council station took 18 hours. During that time, Hannah watched her Vorthok companions see space for the first time. Swiftclaw pressed her face to a window, amazed by the stars. Young Claw asked endless questions about how the ship worked. Even Grimfang seemed impressed by the technology. Your people build well, he admitted to Hannah. When we choose to build instead of destroy, she said. Dr. Lee, xenobiologist who had been studying Vorthok behavior, met them at the docking bay. She was a small, elderly woman with kind eyes and gray hair. Remarkable, she said, studying the 7 Vorthok. Absolutely remarkable. Their body language, their family groupings, their obvious intelligence, this changes everything we thought we knew. That is the point, Hannah said. The Council will meet in 1 hour, Dr. Lee said. Are they ready? Hannah looked at Grimfang. The great Vorthok leader nodded. We are ready, he said. We will speak truth to your Council, and they will choose understanding or destruction. As they walked through the station corridors toward the Council chamber, beings from dozens of worlds stopped to stare. Some ran in fear. Others pointed and whispered. A few, mostly scientists and researchers, looked fascinated. They fear us, Bloodclaw observed. Yes, Hannah said. But fear can change to respect if we do this right. At the entrance to the Council chamber, Admiral Tay waited for them. He was a tall, thin man with cold eyes and a hard expression. This is madness, he said to Hannah. Bringing these creatures here endangers everyone on this station. These creatures, Hannah said, are people. And people deserve a chance to speak. For themselves. People, Admiral Tay laughed. They are animals. Dangerous animals that need to be put down for the safety of civilized space. Grimfang stepped forward. He towered over the human admiral, his yellow eyes burning with controlled anger. Admiral, he said, in perfect galactic standard. I am Grimfang Alpha of the Kethmeros Pack. I have killed many of your kind in battle, but I have also saved many of my own kind from starvation. I am a father, a mate, and a leader. I am many things, but I am not an animal. Admiral Tay stepped back, shocked to hear the Vorthok speak so clearly. The difference between us, Grimfang continued, is that I kill only when I must. You kill because... The doors to the Council chamber opened. Inside, representatives from dozens of worlds waited to decide the fate of an entire species. It is time, Hannah said. As they entered the chamber, Hannah felt the weight of 2 worlds on her shoulders. Behind them, the extermination fleet moved toward Kethmeros. Ahead of them, fear and prejudice waited to judge 7 beings who had already lost everything. But they were not just 7 Vorthok anymore. They were 7 members of a new kind of pack, one that included a human who had chosen family over species, understanding over fear. Together, they would face the galaxy's judgment. And win or lose, they would face... The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Hannah and the 7 Vorthok entered. The huge room was filled with representatives from dozens of worlds. Some had scales, some had fur, some looked like living plants, but they all had the same expression. On their faces, terror. The 7 Vorthok walked slowly into the center of the chamber. They kept their heads high and their claws retracted. Hannah walked beside Grimfang, showing the Council that she trusted these creatures with her life. Ambassador? Kyung stood up from his seat. His old blue face was filled with worry. The Council recognizes Commander Hannah, he said formally. You have returned from your mission to Kethmeros. Please give your report. Before Hannah could speak, Admiral Tay jumped to his feet. "This is Anne." "Outrage!" he shouted. "She has brought dangerous predators into our most secure facility. Guards, remove these creatures immediately." Security guards moved toward the Vorthok, their weapons ready. But something unexpected happened. The 7 Vorthok did not prepare to fight. Instead, they moved closer together, protecting Hannah in the center of their group. "Stop," Hannah said clearly. "If you want to hurt them, you will have to go through me first." The guards hesitated. They had orders to protect council members, not to shoot at human commanders. Admiral Tae Kyung said firmly, "Let her speak." The council voted to send her on this mission. We should hear what she learned. Admiral Tae sat down, but his face was red with anger. Hannah looked around the chamber at all the frightened faces. "I learned that we have been wrong about everything," she said. "The Vorthok are not monsters. They are people. People who have been driven to desperation by circumstances we helped create." "Lies," Admiral Tae shouted. "Look at them. Accuse. Beasts." At that moment, Grimfang stepped forward. His massive form cast a shadow over the council floor. When he spoke, his voice was deep but clear. "Admiral," he said, "you are correct. I am a killer. I have killed many beings in my life, but I have killed only to feed my family or to protect my pack. Can you say the same?" The chamber became very quiet. No one expected to hear a Vorthok speak so clearly. "You call us beasts," Grimfang continued. "But beasts do not create art. Beasts do not sing songs. Beasts do not care for their elderly or teach their young. We do all these things." Dr. Lee stood up from her seat. "May I address the council?" Kyung nodded. "I have studied the Vorthok for months," Dr. Lee said. "Their attack patterns, their behavior, their biology. Everything we see here confirms what I suspected. They are highly intelligent, highly social beings. Their raids on cargo ships follow strict patterns that show they are hunting for survival, not sport." "What do you mean?" asked a council member. "They only attack ships carrying food," Dr. Lee explained. "They ignore passenger vessels unless those vessels attack them first. They take only what they need and leave the rest. This is not the behavior of mindless predators. This is the behavior of desperate people trying to feed their families." Admiral Tae stood up again. "Even if that is true, they are still dangerous. They have killed innocent traders and cargo crews." "Yes," Bloodclaw said. Speaking for the first time, her voice was rough but sad. "We have killed, and every death weighs on our souls. But what would you do if your children were starving? If your world was dying, would you not fight for your family?" A small council member from the plant world of Verdania raised her leafy hand. "Why were your children starving?" she asked. "Kethmeros is your home world. Surely it provides enough food for your people." "It did," Wise Mother said, her old voice carrying across the chamber. "For thousands of seasons, our world was rich with prey. But then the Sky Hunters came." "Sky Hunters?" Kyung asked. "Off-world. Poachers," Hannah explained. "They came to Kethmeros and hunted all the native prey to extinction. They took the horns, scales, and feathers to sell on distant worlds. In 5 years, they destroyed an entire ecosystem." The chamber erupted in angry voices. Many council worlds had problems with illegal poaching, but few had seen it on such a scale. "The Vorthok tried to stop them," Hannah continued. "But the poachers had advanced weapons and ships. The Vorthok fought with claws and teeth against energy weapons and orbital bombardment." "So you turned to raiding our ships?" Admiral Tae said accusingly. "We turned to survival," Grimfang said simply. "Our choice was to raid your cargo ships or watch our children die of hunger." "What choice would you have made?" The chamber fell quiet again. Many of the council members were parents themselves. They understood the terrible choice the Vorthok had faced. Swiftclaw, the youngest of the 7 Vorthok, stepped forward. Her bright, yellow eyes looked around the chamber with curiosity rather than fear. "I have never seen so many different kinds of people in one place," she said. "On our world, there is only one kind of people, us. But here, I see that the galaxy is full of different kinds of families." Her simple words had a powerful effect. Several council members smiled at the young Vorthok's wonder. "But if there are so many different kinds of families," Swiftclaw continued, "why do you want to destroy ours?" Admiral Tay stood up once more. "Because your kind is dangerous. You are predators. You will always be a threat to peaceful civilizations. Like humans." Youngclaw asked quietly. "What?" Admiral Tay said. "Humans are predators too," Youngclaw explained. "They have forward-facing eyes for hunting. They have teeth for eating meat. Their bodies are built for chasing prey over long distances. But the human Hannah saved my life when rocks fell on me. She risked her own safety to help an enemy. Are all predators evil, or only the ones you fear?" Dr. Lee stood up again. "The young one makes an excellent point. Humans are indeed predators, but they have become the galaxy's greatest force for peace and cooperation. Perhaps we should ask ourselves what makes the difference." "The difference," Hannah said, "is understanding. Humans learn to see beyond their nature. The Vorthok can do the same." "Prove it," Admiral Tay said coldly. At that moment, alarms began ringing throughout the station. Red lights flashed, and an automated voice announced, "Security breach in Section 7. All personnel evacuate immediately." The chamber doors burst open and station security guards rushed in. "Pirates," one of them shouted. "A raider ship has docked in the cargo bay. They are heavily armed and moving toward the council chamber." Panic filled the room. Council members began running toward the exits, but the exits were blocked. The pirates had planned their attack well. "How many?" Admiral Tay demanded. 12. "Armed raiders," the guard replied. "Military-grade weapons. They are demanding surrender of the council treasury." The Vorthok looked at each other and then at Hannah. She could see the decision forming in their yellow eyes. "No," she said quickly. "You do not have to fight for people who are about to destroy your world." "Yes, we do," Grimfong said simply. "They are your people. You are our pack. That makes them our people too." Before anyone could stop them, the 7 Vorthok moved toward the blocked exits. They did not run wildly or attack in rage. They moved like a coordinated team, using hand signals and positioning themselves strategically. The first pirate to see them coming dropped his weapon in shock. A 3-Metoro Vorthok charging at full speed was not something most beings ever expected to face. But Grifung did not kill the pirate. Instead, he grabbed the weapon and carefully pushed the raider aside. The message was clear: surrender and live. Most of the pirates were smart enough to surrender immediately. The few who tried to fight found themselves facing creatures that were faster, stronger, and much more experienced in combat. Within minutes, all 12 raiders were captured without a single death. The council members slowly returned to the chamber. They looked at the 7 Vorthok with new eyes. These beings had just saved their lives. "Why?" Admiral Tay asked. His voice was quiet now. "Why did you protect us?" "Because that is what Pack does," Bloodclaw said. "Pack protects Pack." "But we are not your Pack," said a council member. "Hannah is our Pack," Swiftclaw explained. "She saved Youngclaw. She lived with us. She shared our food and our dangers. She chose to stay with us when her own people bombed our home. That makes her family." "And if Hannah is family," Grimfang said, "then her people are family too. We protect family." Ambassador Kyung stood up slowly. His old eyes were wet with tears. "Council will vote," he said. all in favor of stopping the extermination fleet and opening peace negotiations with the Vorthok people. Hands, claws, tentacles, and branches rose throughout the chamber. Only Admiral Tay and 2 other members voted against the motion. Motion passed, Kyung announced. The extermination fleet is recalled immediately. Dr. Lee approached the 7. Vorthok, would you be willing to help us establish a new security force? The galaxy needs protectors who understand the difference between justice and revenge. Grimfang looked at his pack, then at Hannah. What do you think, Pack Sister? I think the galaxy is about to become a much safer place, Hannah said. 6 months. Later, Hannah stood on the observation deck of a space station at the edge of Vorthok space. Through the window, she could see Kethmuros. The planet was green again. Conservation teams from dozens of worlds had worked together to restore the ecosystem. New herds grazed in the valleys. Fish swam in the... But the greatest change was in space around the planet. Ships came and went peacefully. The Vorthok had become the galaxy's most trusted security force. Their absolute loyalty and their ability to sense lies made them perfect peacekeepers. A tech leader. A familiar voice said behind her. Hannah turned to see Swiftclaw approaching. The young Vorthok now wore the insignia of a galactic security officer. She had grown taller and stronger, but her yellow eyes still held their curious light. How was the patrol? Hannah asked. 3 pirate ships surrendered without firing a shot, Swiftclaw reported. When they saw our ship, they immediately requested permission to negotiate. Good, Hannah said. No unnecessary violence. As you taught us, Swiftclaw agreed. Father says to tell you that the new pack members have arrived. Hannah smiled. More Vorthok from the restored colonies were joining the security force every month. What had started with 7 refugees had grown into a galaxy-wide organization. And Swiftclaw, Hannah said, as the young Vorthok prepared to leave. Yes, pack leader. Tell your father that the council has approved the new settlement on Sanctuary. Prime, 40 more families can leave Kethmuros and start new lives there. Swiftclaw's eyes brightened. New hunting grounds. New homes, Hannah corrected. 4 pack members who want to live in peace among the stars. As Swiftclaw left to deliver the message, Hannah looked out at the stars again. Somewhere out there, ships traveled safely under the protection of beings who had once been called monsters. Children played on worlds that had once lived in fear. And in the vast darkness of space, the bonds of an impossible family grew stronger every day. The galaxy had learned a valuable lesson. Sometimes the fiercest predators make the most loyal protectors. You just have to have the courage to see the person inside the monster. And sometimes, if you are very lucky, the monster sees the person in